A good Erev Shabbos, everyone. Erev Shabbos. Parshas Pinchas. It's the first Shabbos of the 3 weeks. Parshas Pinchas is an incredible parsha. We see a person who stood up and was a vigilante. He took the law into his own hands. He's rewarded with a bris shalom, with a covenant of peace. When the word shalom is written in the Torah, it's written with a vav ketia. It's written with a broken vav. To tell us there are two ways of making shalom. The way of making shalom of bringing people together, and there's a way of making shalom. Sometimes you have to cut out and excise the problem and take it away. And that also makes things whole again. But the truth is, in last week's parsha came the story. In this week's parsha comes God's ratification, God's answering Amen, God saying that it was good, what he did was great, and he gets the great reward of Brisi Shalom. But the mice at the end of the day, what he did was halacha vein morin kain. It was halacha, but we don't pass him like that. It's not really practical to us. It doesn't really say much to us. What can I really learn from Pinchas? When I get upset, pick up a sword, go kill the people around me that are upsetting me? No. To be a kanoi, to be a zealot? No. So what am I supposed to learn from Pinchas? And the truth is, he's an exception to the rule. How do you learn from an exception to the rule? And he's not really the only hero that stopped the plague in the Jewish people. Look what Nachshon did. Nachshon walked into the water, walked up to his neck, and the sea split. What a hero. Aaron stopped the plague after Korach. Moshe Rabbeinu stopped the plague after the egel, after the golden calf. So what do we learn from Pinchas? So if you take a look at the beginning of the parsha, when his name is mentioned, Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen, there's an instruction that are written in the Chumashim, a little asterisk, and you look to the side and it says, a Yud Ze'ira, a small Yud. Because that's who Pinchas was. Pinchas was a regular person. He was a Pashut Yid. He wasn't leadership. He wasn't part of the running of Klal Yisrael. He was a small Yud. He was a small Yid, just a regular person. Nachshon, Aaron, Moshe, they did amazing things. They were leaders. They were in that position. They needed to rise to the occasion. They needed to be that kind of person because that's what they got the big bucks for. That's who they were. That's why they were chosen for that position. That's what leaders do. They lead. But Pinchas wasn't a leader. It wasn't his responsibility. In the face of a terrible calamity, Pinchas rose to the challenge. And he stepped into the limelight in order to be able to save the Jewish people. Without any expectations, without any requirements, without any obligations, he achieved greatness. And that's true greatness. Assessing a situation and saying, this needs me. Rising to an occasion. Looking at something and saying, I could never do this. I'm just a regular person. Why should I have to do this? It's not my responsibility. It is everyone's responsibility. And it's the giant. It's the great one that stands up and does. I'm not going to mention the person's name, but I was watching a person who was davening in a shul, and in the shul, there was no organization in the shul. It was a small shul. There was nothing. No organization of cleaning, of kiddushim, of all the ins and outs. There was no secretary in the shul. There was nothing. The person looked at it and he said, everybody was standing and everybody was complaining for months and months and months. People were complaining. And this person stood up and organized the place. A Pashut person a regular person, no responsibility, no salary. But he looked at it and he said, it's got to get done. And that's greatness. Every volunteer who looks at it and says, this needs help, this needs something. I'm not going to kvetch and I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to do. That's a giant. And that's what Pinchas has to teach us. Not vigilantism, not killing the problem, not being a surgeon, excising the issue. All those are great lessons, but that's not Pinchas's main thing that he taught us. Pinchas with a small yud. Pinchas, the regular person, looked at it and said, you can't just sit back. You got to do. And he got that from his Zayda. From the Zayda that wasn't mentioned in the Torah. He got that from Yisro. We're told that Paro had 3 advisors. He had Eiv, Bilam, and Yisro. Bilam, who heard and he agreed, and he said, let's get rid of the Jews. He was killed by the Jews. Eiv that sat there and he was quiet, no kvetch, no krechts, no nothing. He ended up kvetching and krechtzing plenty in his lifetime. Eiv, Job, lived in the time, according to the Gemara, lived in the time of Moshe, lived in the time of Paro, and suffered plenty. And Yisro that said, I can't tolerate this. This is horrific. And he ran away from Paro. And he made a protest. And he said, this can't be done. It says that Yisro was zocha to have grandchildren and great-grandchildren sitting in Lishkas HaGazis in the chamber of hewn stone, in the Sanhedrin, the leadership of the Jewish people. The first of which was Pinchas. Pinchas, his Anikel, Pinchas, his grandchild. Pinchas learnt from the Zayda. You can't just sit back and kvetch. You can't just sit back and be silent. You want to be a giant? You want to be great? Then just stand up and do. Rise to the occasion. Because when you rise to the occasion, you take that small yud, you take that smallness of just being a regular yid, and you turn yourself into something magnificent. This Shabbos should inspire every one of us to take our small yud, to take our pashutness, to take our simplicity, our sense of being I'm just a regular person, and recognizing that we have greatness living inside of us. All we have to do is just get up and go. Everyone should have a wonderful Shabbos, an amazing Shabbos. And we should find that point of greatness inside of us and learn how not to sit back, but to get up and do and accomplish. Shabbos.